All right. Welcome everyone. I'm guessing everyone can hear us, right? Hopefully, um, okay, I see there's like at least 10 people. So welcome everyone. My name is Nan. We have Yulia here as well. We are co-hosts, co-leads of the Aulas Women's Group. Today we are hosting Launch School's Women's Group, Women in Tech panel event. I'm very excited to introduce you to our amazing guest speakers today. We have Dana Lawson, Chief Technology Officer at Netlify, and then Wen Pei Liu, Senior Vice President of Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning at Soley Therapeutics. So today's agenda will be a conversation with our guest speakers on topics of working in tech as a woman, thoughts on AI, its pros and cons, and possible solutions, AI's impact on the software engineering profession, and possibly a question and answer at the end. So feel free to post your questions in the question and answer panel at the bottom of your screen. I think if you click more, you'll be able to see that there's a question answer button, and just click on that and I'll monitor and make sure if anyone have any questions and we have time at the end, we can answer your questions. So before we get started, Dana and Wen have a very long career in software engineering space. It'd be great if we can all get a brief on your background and your role at your company. So why don't you take the first step on this one, I guess.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me here today. I love this stuff. I love the opportunity to talk with you all. Yeah, my name is Dana Lawson, as said, CTO of Netlify. Fun fact, there's only 8% women CTOs globally. So I'm hoping some future ones are sitting on this call right now so we can pump that number up. But I've been in tech for, man, a really long time, since the 90s. I know, right? Like, I'm definitely an old school, but I'm keeping it new school with all this AI. I've worn every hat you can imagine. That's why I have a whole closet full of them. But currently, I've really been focused on, for the last 15 years, just leadership, the ability to enable amazing technology to reach the hands of people globally, and more importantly, the opportunity to work with amazing software developers and engineers and technologists alike. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wen?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for inviting me, and I appreciate moving the meeting for one of my conflicts. So I'm Wen Liu. My background, I studied computer science, undergrad, master's, PhD, and applied that towards medical robotics first. And similar to Dana, I've been in tech or biotech for about 20 years now. And I know we're dating ourselves to the very young launch school students here. But yeah, so I'm head of AI now at a drug discovery startup here in the Bay Area.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Dana, can you just go into a little bit more detail about what your company Netlify does? Just like just an overall.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Netlify is a software development application and website development platform that also takes care of all the infrastructure and hosting. So we're an end-to-end solution to enable the next digital experiences out there on the web.
Wow, thank you. And Wen, can you just go in maybe a little more detail about Solely Therapeutics?
Sure. But first, I think Dana's being modest. If you look at Stack Overflow, there's this technology survey every year that I shared last time. I think Netlify is the top 10, has been there for a couple of years now. So you're competing with like Vercel and of course the .NETs of the world, but
It's
it's very
true.
well known, well used.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. But you know what? Come on, you're changing people's literal
Trying to do.
literal lives. You talk about humility, freaking changing literal lives. Like I said, like, oof, so cool. But no, you should tell them when. You should tell them what you do.
So I've been in applied AI for at least 15 years now. So basically, you can apply AI in vision, in chemistry, in lots of different data sources for drug discovery, and in my previous life, in medical robotics. So think of medical robotics as self-driving cars. You have cameras, you have sensors, you have LiDAR, And for drug discovery, you're looking at the molecular structure, the microscopy, the genomics of the drug versus disease. So there's a lot of very nuanced things we can apply large language model to. And in drug discovery, you're either hunting for new drugs for oncology, for say for cancer, or you're offering service as a platform, right? You're trying to give tools to these drug hunters. So those are two categories, and we're doing both at Soley.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think you guys are like it's so amazing to see how like AI can be applied. And I think when you're like talking about how it's being applied in vision, all these other things, yeah, that's really amazing work. Uh, Julia, would you like to continue on to the next section?
Yes, yes, sure. And working tech as women, Dana and Van, um, what do you think that what is the environment in tech now for women executives and individual contributors?
The environment for tech for, oh man, well, I don't know. As the famous soul singer James Brown once said, it's a man's world. And you know what? That shit's still true. I hate to break it to you. I don't know. I mean, I ain't man hating. I'm just, being real. I think the environment has continued to get better. I think there's more opportunities. There has been a focus on equality, and women aren't the only ones that are still fighting for their space in, but I think, we are making that progress. And so I don't want to dismiss that work. I mean, look at this, look at us right now. I mean, we're having a call, like back when me and Wen started, none of this existed. And there is a lot of uncertainty right now about the programs that help equalize us across the board, especially in the United States. And so, the day-to-day, personally, it feels like it has been. I try to continue to be a good steward and look at opportunities. And I truly believe in a diverse and inclusive and equitable workforce, no matter if anybody's beliefs aren't in line with that. I think we still have a mission to do for humanity, to give us an all opportunity to see how we can advance progress. For executives, it's you get a lot of, they say heavy is the head that wears the crown. I mean, I think that's still true across the board. Is there's still situations where, you feel the things that we all feel as people, imposter syndrome, that you can't be heard, that it's hard to show up, especially if you're not a loudmouth like myself, I can imagine. I think, for women ICs and ICs in general, in software development, especially if you're starting in a new career, or or just really trying to hone your craft, it's such a volatile environment right now. And so I would say that there's anything that I can call out distinctually that has significantly shifted, but the fight's still on. And I think that, we'll continue to ensure that we have the same opportunities no matter what continues to happen, and continue to strive for that. And so that's my take on the current environment. And I feel like, depends on really, the company that you sign up on, that cultural belief and the mission statements and vision. Every company is unique. There's all similarities, but every company is unique. And so I always try to say, look for the ones with good values. Look for the ones that really have things that you feel comfortable and with align with your own needs. But I would say it's still it still needs work to do, but it's gotten a lot better, and gotten a lot better means that it can be great. And we're not at greatness yet, but we're still working towards it.
Thank you, Dana. That's awesome. Great, amazing. And what do you think? What do you think?
Definitely agree with Dana. So if you look at male-dominated industries like tech, it's statistically not that much better than previous years, especially since COVID. There's definitely, I feel, more opportunities in startup, because then female leaderships can just step up very quickly. We see that with Fireworks.ai. But in a recent conference I attended, and I would recommend to anyone, but it's a little pricey. That's a national conference for women. They have local sectors, and they had great speakers, Padme Lakshmi, um, um, Simone Biles, for examples. They did say, of course, that the system isn't built for women. Most systems aren't. However, we do have advantages, right? When we talk, we sit in a circle, we go deep. versus more the quintessential shallow kind of conversations that our male colleagues have. So definitely leverage what you can from your female networks, and don't be afraid to reach out. So I would say there's opportunities and skill sets that we have that are perhaps male colleagues don't have, and also we can have advocates and allies, across the gender aisle as well. So look for those allies.
Great, wonderful. Nan, we don't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that, you guys. Yeah, I have a question. Like when it comes to like what I guess Dana and Wen both mentioned that we can try to look for companies that have our values and look out to people that can support us. But what do you think like we can do to like better leverage our skills or anything like that to get into the space, I guess, as women or just as an individual in person, I guess.
Lynn, you want to take that one?
Sure, yeah. So everything's moving so fast now, guys, right? With AI. Make sure whatever is your public brand is always up to date. Your LinkedIn, your GitHub, whatever discourse environment you're in, just keep that and keep yourself informed, I would say. The other is just take advantage of what you have in terms of the women you see around you. Don't be afraid to ask for mentors, or mentor somebody else, pay it forward. I think Dana and I are both here because we're hiring managers. We think highly of launch school, but I've been very lucky in my career. Not per se, let's say I saw female mentors come to me, but I want to be able to potentially do that for someone else if that's available, right? If that's in a network that you can be a part of. So definitely do that, sharpen your skills. You're already at launch school, so I know that you likely pivoted from something else and took it upon yourself to do extra learning. So there's probably something for AI, a certificate or a new program that you can do as well, or launch school can extend their education. So I would say keep self-educating yourself, which you're here already because of launch school, and then definitely maintain your public brand to be as up to date as possible.
Oh yeah, I definitely second that, especially if you're trying to break in. You know, I think globally we have hit, don't quote me on this, I'll have to Google it again, but GitHub puts out their survey of their expectations on how many developers are there globally. And I believe expected in 2025 to hit 100 million developers, right? That's a lot of people. And with this dramatic disruption, I'll call it a disruption of AI, there's this concern that, if AI has taken away this need for developers. It hasn't. It has shifted the work, it's shifted the workflows, and it's shifted the problem, but there's still this need of human intervention. There will always be a need for human intervention at some level of stack. And so to echo Wen, I think it's still a very much competitive space, no matter the doom newsreel of rifts and layoffs and others. There's going to continue to be a lot of opportunity. We saw a little bit of a buckle, but building that portfolio is so dang important, showcasing real world projects, working on open source, getting your name out there. I always tell people, like, one of the big parts of being an engineer or technologist is writing and sharing and learning. And so again, that bi-directional opportunity to say, I've learned and now I'm mentoring. And even if you aren't an expert, it's going to showcase your personal brand because you have the ability to go write a Medium job post, show the world what you're interested in. Those things actually help. Everybody has put all of their stuff on the internet, and a lot of hiring managers, guess what? They're searching for you. They're looking for you. They're going to see who you are, and they're going to know a lot about you depending upon how much you've shared. And especially, if you are a generation that has been grown on the internet, there's a lot of history out there, good or bad, and take it. And so why don't you continue to control that narrative and put the word and voice out there that you want? And then again, take those certifications, look for these specialities, stay agile in your approach to learning, and find connections. Don't feel like you can't go out there and tap somebody on the shoulder. I feel very fortunate that my first ever mentor, and I'm gonna give her a shout out, Kim Young-hee Woodell, if you ever are watching this, I would not be here if it was not for you. But finding that person that really is going to take you under their wing and show you the ropes, because the practical on hands learning is equally as important in what you're learning here. So again, Launch School has been great partners in showing how they're applying this practical practice to real world problems. And just, again, I don't know if I add anything interesting, but exactly what Wen said, those are the things that you got to just continue to look at and continue to strive for and do. And it takes you taking control of your destiny.
Well, Dana, thank you for that. And also when like I feel like yeah, this whole thing of like trying to take agency and like try to put yourself out there is like one of those things that I feel like I don't know personally for me, but maybe for other people too, we have like kind of a hard time doing that. But yeah, I think that's like one of the things that we could definitely, or at least I know for myself, we can definitely work on as a group and as a community to really put ourselves out there and I guess grab any opportunities we can get, right? Yes. So I guess we'll continue on. I see we have questions coming in. We'll save it for the end to see if we have time because we want to get through all these other questions that we have for the on the agenda today. So I guess we'll go into like questions about uh the current I guess hype, which is AI, right? We kind of mentioned that in today's discussion a little bit. There's I guess we hear news a lot on AI, both like the good and the bad. Some are exciting and inspirational, and others are kind of more like fearful and dystopic, like, oh, it's gonna end the world. So from your own experiences, or thoughts on AI, what are your own, I guess, both Dana and Wen, what are your own experiences or thought on AI in the industry, in the software industry right now, since you guys are in this space, right?
You want me to go first? All right. Oh man. Shoot, you heard when she been doing this for a hot minute. It's been around, y'all. This ain't new. I mean, call all of machine learning AI is new. I mean, I guess it's not machine learning any longer, but most of it's machine learning. This is a secret. Don't tell anybody, but most of it is. My thoughts are like it's amazing. I feel like we're part of the Industrial Revolution right now. It's incredible to be a part, to be witnessing this. I think that every industry will be affected, and it is scary because it's unknown and it's not predictable for us at this current moment. But there is a lot of predictability. We are always bringing in new tool sets. We're always bringing in new ways of thinking and pushing ourselves. And for me, I think that it's just going to become more and more normalized. And you can see that in the work that we do. If you think about how we used to approach problems, even though humans are amazing, it was still like a lot of overhead and a lot of like figuring out the ways that you intake the information to come out with the output in a way that is right, and I'm excited to see really how all of our industries are going to be extended with this new thinking, right? I mean, we're all talking about the agentic workforce. And so when we separate the doom of the apocalypse of humans and it's all robots, I'm going to say no. You still got to tell the robots what to do, and we still have to continue to put in feedback the human interactions into those models and that self-discovery. And I think because of that, we're seeing amazing things happen. Like the research Wen's doing, I mean, that is going to enable all of us, like to be able to go in there. Every vertical is going to be impacted. And so I think you have two choices. You embrace it or you get left behind. And I know that's hard. And I don't mean you got to become like a full-on fangirl, you don't. You just got to say, how is this going to really advance human progress? And how do I play a part in it? Because for me, being a technologist, a curious individual is always about why we're here, living, breathing, and doing what we do. And it's so that we can continue to be an amazing species. And some people think we can even go further. And I don't want to sit and watch. I want to be a part of it. And I think that we would be foolish to say that it's not going to happen because it's already here. And really, I think it'll be interesting to see the value that's coming out of the systems. Right now, it's a lot of hype. It's a lot of fluff. Y'all may remember or don't remember the Yo app. It was because apps were so new and everybody's like, look, it's just an app that does Yo. That's how stupid it got. And then we said, oh my gosh, we don't need all of that nonsense. I think there's going to be a big mad rush of that. We already see it, but you cannot see a world without this in the future, in my opinion. And so I'm constantly trying to learn how we're doing, what are we doing, what are we thinking about, not just from a tool set, but again, what is it doing to advance humanity. And I know that's a little woo-woo, but I don't know. That's why I'm here, is to see why we can do what we can do. But I'm sure Wen has much more thoughts, because she's in it. She's a practitioner. I just build the tools for her to do her stuff. But she's doing the stuff.
Yeah, agree with Dana. So definitely don't get left behind. Stay informed on the tools that affects your job, Copilot or Cursor, whatever it is. But just to give you sort of the motive, like for one application for AI is where I'm at in drug discovery. So right now, currently, historically, 95% of drugs fail. Now, where in the world do we accept that kind of failure rate, right? And this is after millions of dollars and tens of years spent on studying this drug before it gets to humans. So we are applying AI very strategically that will have great impacts, compressing the time, reducing the risk, understanding the drugs early before it goes to clinical trial. So that's what we're doing, applying AI. But in general, historically we have so many these technology waves, right? From internet to search to mainframe to PC to mobile that enables all these different kinds of commerce. So e-commerce, social media. So I think this next wave of large language models will enable e-knowledge. Basically, you'll have expertise, insights at your fingertips. So whether you're now a GPT fan or a Claude Sonnet or whatever DeepSeek that you're using, try to understand how you would use it personally. It's easy to do more, let's say, financial research or statistical research. And I just did this just to prepare for this webinar. There's a double-digit increase in jobs associated with AI now. That's just what's happening in the job market. So in the past, I've asked candidates for the positions I've hired for, are you a front end or you're a back end? But now I probably have to ask, well, how is your job going to enable the LLM landscape, right? Are you cloud? Are you hyperscaler? Are you really super ninja in AWS or GPC? Or are you more the LLM APIs, LLM ML ops infra? So think about that, where you fit into the new emerging technology stack for your skill set.
Wow. I guess I'm glad to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, because yeah, we get so much like mixture of stuff online, and it seems like embracing AI is a very, I guess, beneficial. It goes both ways, I guess, for people in general, and then for us as engineers to continue making better products. And um, I guess it's a win-win, right? I'm also curious to know if you guys have any like concerns or anything like that that pertains to AI that can affect us, like maybe in the short run. Because right, there's like a learning curve for all of us to have to get on to the the AI skills. Do you see any sort of like um things that we should be wary of, or in terms of AI?
With changes this fast, of course, there are always concerns,
Hmm.
and definitely everyone here probably feels the geopolitical part of AI, So I would say I'm personally more concerned about if people are being more marginalized through AI. This is not a democratic opportunities or representation, but also, of course, the power of AI, right? It would be the equivalent of nuclear or kind of for true um, intelligent, super intelligent. So those are things I personally worry about. I think for as students, perhaps it is just if you are learning the incumbent languages or tools, or that they're going away, or are you sort of riding the wave, the next set of tools and companies that's going to do really well. So I would say it's something along the lines of what Dana said, vote with your feet, find the culture and the mission that you really believe in. Just try it out, right? Everybody's in a phase of their life. We're not going to be in our first job forever. We're not going to be in tech forever. Someday, hopefully, I hope to retire. So just kind of time cap this phase for yourself and try to see, okay, am I really learning all these skill sets and tools and frameworks and API that seems to be the emergent group, or am I learning things that are going to be replaced or stagnant or legacy pretty soon?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think about a lot is continuing to build openly. And I think that comes back to the mission of being good stewards. Like, I mean, ain't no secret, I was at GitHub. I love open source software. I love it because it's a group of randos around the world sharing ideas and sharing code. Like, hello, sign me up. And I think that, for me, it's exactly that. Like, this is an amazing new wave of technology for us. And if we don't continue to work towards an open web and we don't continue to share, there is going to be dominance in the space that blocks out other, and it is going to create unequitable environments. And that comes with a whole laundry list of other things that it can harm when we start building enclosed systems. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't keep your secret sauce. Heck no. But it also means is like what we've been doing for many years is sharing and being open about these tool sets so that we can all use them. And so they can't be misused because you know exactly how they've been codified and coded and what they're building and why they're doing it. Obviously, the data that is being trained on, that's different. But if we can see the inner workings of it and we get to participate, it up levels the understanding, it allows people to participate, and it hopefully weeds out some of that, but there's always that balancing act. And again, you're going to hear us just continuing to agree. It's like, there's always going to be things that produce uncertainty and doubt, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Because this is rapidly moving and you have a lot of uncertainty and doubt, that's why I am a hard component of like, put it in the open, work on the open on this technology, share what you can share so we can continue to have more people embrace it. It's hard to embrace things when they're closed, and it's hard to also advance things when they're closed. And so it's going to be interesting. And I think, again, if we keep that mentality of what makes this profession amazing, where we do get to vote with our feet, not only on our personal, corporate, and career agendas, but also get to vote with our feet on the technology that we utilize, it all goes in waves. It all comes in waves. And I think that it's interesting because you may think you're on the path forward, and then you're like, gosh, I got to go learn Python again. Because news alert, most of it's in Python. So practical advice, go learn some Python. If you haven't learned some Python, it's human readable. It's not scary. Go do it. But I agree. I think you've got to embrace it. And then you also have to just be a good steward and good citizen and not watch on the sidelines, but go find those opportunities and work with advocates that you surround yourself that do it. And so I don't know, you can't be scared. You can be scared, but you can't be scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dana and Wen. Yeah, now that you guys mentioned that, Launch School used to only have a Ruby and JavaScript track, but now we have a Python track. And I think it's all because, right, we're like, Launch School is constantly studying the market and seeing where the trends are going. So I think recently I heard that Chris also mentioned that he has like his like in capstone, like in prep for capstone, he has like students like just playing around with AI models and making a project out of them. So yeah, all that you're mentioning now makes all sense because it's like, yeah, we're all trying to just prepare ourselves for whatever's ahead. So that's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
just
great.
on
And
the open source, real quick. I also vote for open source, so part of our team is always publishing, and we're kind of pushing against what can we share data-wise, model weights-wise, as much as we can, like legally and for our own sake. But on the large language model landscape, you can just quickly Google, let's say, the open benchmarks that are available. You can see that there is proprietary and closed weights models and open weights models, and they're basically neck and neck, especially with DeepSeek lately. So there isn't like, oh, I have to be this one or the other. You can choose, vote with your feet.
Right.
And definitely just stay informed. There's benchmarks for, they call SWE benchmarks. These are software engineering that shows which models are doing better on the test sets that's been curated for mostly, let's say, PRs, debugging, things like that. So you can kind of imagine the trend that the autocomplete, the simple, Python classes will probably be taken over by AI very easily. But what can you do as a more advanced programmer using those tools, right? You don't have to spend all that time doing PRs and doing merges and things like that. Outsource it to the tools. Don't be afraid of it. And then just, yes, learn Python, and PyTorch is the most common language for AI right now. So learn that as well if you like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Python is actually one of the popular tracks right now in at launch school. So everyone's going there. Go ahead, Yulia. Yeah.
yeah, that's wonderful. There are so many opportunities now that it exists with AI, and the world, tech world is growing and expanding and changing. Um, and So you mentioned a bit previously that hiring launch school students, that during hiring process, some questions changed because of changing tech industry, tech environment. And is there anything that you noticed that truly stand out, truly impressed from launch school students as candidates during the hiring process and on the job? It is about the before an AI or now. So what are your impressions? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I can take that first and I can hand it off to Dana. I've been really impressed with launch school students. I've hired two, and I know other managers since I left the other company, they've also kept hiring launch school. And recently, even for my startup, which we're very lean, we're about 35 people right now. In the five that I've hired last year, one of them was a launch school graduate or alumni. So one of the things we did with him was he was hired as a full stack software engineer, but we quickly changed and sort of promoted him. And I'm going to just embarrass him. If he's online, if he's not online, then he should be watching this. So Michael Ricasa, so he's now an ML infra engineer. So I think that's one of these kind of nuanced emerging job descriptions, as well as like GPU optimization. If you're some kind of a ninja somewhere in there where you can help basically squeeze the most out of our very expensive graphics cards, then you are in a very special space. So besides that, just interviewing with launch school candidates, I've found that they are they're good communicators, fundamentally sound, they're very self-aware and team-oriented. And that's usually like just high growth, high potential, very fluid learners. And you would have to be at a startup. You basically have to do everything. And Michael's doing just that for us. So I have had very good hiring experience, but we're also kind of evolving these launch school students as well. Dana?
Oh man, heck yeah. I mean, we have some alumni that had gone through. Shout out Daniel Liu. I know that y'all know him. He works with me. And we hired a full-on IC1 cohort and individual contributor one. So we knew y'all were coming out of code school and we're like, launch school's got something special in the water. And what we did was we took a whole team that already worked together. And the thing that I love is real world practical projects and work versus just getting theory. And a lot of coding schools will put you through the paces, you'll get your certificate, and it's like, wow, I don't know how to do CI/CD. I don't have to worry about that. And I think launch school really develop and incubating has shown that. And our peeps have been really successful. I mean, Jordan Whistler, he's now at 1Password, rocking the world. I think that it's, true opportunity to take that because when y'all come out, y'all are so fungible. You have a great foundation, you have a firm grasp, just like we was saying, full stack engineers, but then this opportunity to expand and go specialize. Heck yeah, go do it. That's what you do when you're in your beginning of your career. You try to figure out what you gravitate towards with, and so you do come in as a generalist, and launch school has been really great at laying that foundational footprint to be like, I can do this. And then you go and get that opportunity with real world experience to gravitate towards the things that you want, and then keeping that edge. And I think that's equally important. And so I do think that, the component of really working together as a team has been so incredibly important too, and having those working groups, because when you get into an environment, you're usually not the lone developer on your team. You're usually working with others, unless it's really super smart, you start on your own thing. And I love the fact that Launch School has a mix of different people from different places, from different times in their lives. I mean, you got second careers, you got parents that have left the workforce and are coming back in and want to refresh. And when you get into an environment, you're working with people straight out of college, second career, early and then old schoolers like me, and you all have to come together to make it work. And I really feel like there's something in the waters that y'all do to mix it all up to give that kind of real world environment, because it's been very transferable for me with the people. And we kept them all together when we first started partnering with y'all on one team, and then they split out and went to other teams, and then they get to bring that experience from, that continuation of being already familiar with yourself before you join the company. And so I always recommend, I'm like, don't hire a person, hire a team. But you got to have the budget to do that, and you can't always do that. But it's been really successful, and I've been really excited to partner, and I'm excited to see how y'all are how Chris and the team continues to embrace this. Really diving into like expanding the repertoire for model tuning, LLM, agent building. I like vibe coding myself. If you haven't heard, that's the latest vibe. You got to get out there and do some vibe coding, but it's a real deal. It's a real thing. I thought it was all baloney too. It's a real thing, y'all. But I think you have to embrace that. And again, keep an eye on where developers still hang out. They're still on Stack Overflow. You're still on Hacker News. You're still on, don't be on X, be on Blue Sky. And so, you got to continue to go to those meetups. I think a really good thing too is because you have, again, such a globally diverse, group of people coming together, it's just going to make you easier to work with people from different backgrounds. And that's a superpower, especially when we still have remote and in office, this hybrid work. You got to be comfortable with it. And so there's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's great. And it is interesting that, some that people are hired, come at work and have some skills. And do they changed with the time along with AI? So we are asking because here at Launch School, we would like to know what we can do to learn and what skills we need to learn to be effective, successful at our future jobs, at our future employer. What do you think about skills and other thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how Chris is evolving the curriculum at law school. It sounds like Python, but there's going to be AI or more AI-enabled tools and frameworks. But I would say there's definitely technical skills, and that's a great question for GPT or great questions for the technology surveys that you're thinking about. Let's say, what are the most popular tools right now, or language, or definitely learn Docker or something like that. But there's also, don't sleep on the soft skills. I think especially for women, there is these kind of solution architect, technical PMs. You don't have to be a pure software engineer, for example. You can be that in between that manages a product. There's a lot of more female PMs that I know that have a technical hat that they wear. So I think don't bucket yourself to, I have to only hone my software skills. You can definitely focus on also leadership skills, communication, organization, and other things are very natural to us. But yeah, I would be curious to see what Chris is inventing in that special water of his to keep you guys updated, because that would be something I think would be the next version of Launch School that I would love to hire from.
Oh yeah, just really quick one that you mentioned that we have we have some messages from the attendees, and one of them is saying that Daniel Liu is actually a capstone mentor. So yeah, he said that he's giving like really good actually a really good capstone projects to help them get into the AI space. So it seems like yeah, the course is the capstone is pretty tailored towards like what's happening currently in the
Awesome.
software engineering space. Yeah.
Yeah, you can always get your own AWS account and play around. There's like Bedrock, they offer a lot of the open source LLMs, llamas in there for sure. Play around with the project. It would only cost very little, a few tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars a month, and it'd be worth it to develop your own. But yeah, I don't know, Dana, what do you think about honing your skills?
I mean, straight up, you're doing it. You know what to do. You already took a leap of faith to go to a coding school. Like, just stay curious. Like, I know it sounds easy. Stay curious. You know, take that little voice out of your head when it says you can't and say, yes, I can. And just put yourself out there. I think that's the hardest part, you know, is really putting yourself out there. And this is where we do want to focus on those soft skills, because you could be a great coder, but if you can't ship a project, it does not matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, cool. So it's learning the end-to-end process, diving in there and exploring. I think, you know, embracing stuff like Grimoire, Lovable, Bolt, Windscale, Copilot, like you have Cursor, like let it do the heavy lifting for you. Like you're new. Like I mean, did I help develop Copilot? Yes, so I'm a fan. But like the reality of it is like that's the future. We're going to use these assistants, and then these assistants are going to turn into agents, and these agents are going to be out there being built off the brains of these LLMs. And there's so much opportunity all the way through on this entire tool chain of where you can make an impact. So finding the thing you geek out on, like, and there's a whole world for like optimization. I mean, come on now, if we're not talking chips, like it doesn't matter if you're a systems engineer, maybe that's what you gravitate towards, or like when you're a PhD and you're doing research and you're actually going and telling how these things are built. It's amazing. I think that you just have to take that curiosity that you've already mined to put yourself in this position to try and do a new field, to learn something new. You're doing it right now. Don't second guess yourself. You've done much harder things. You shifted your entire career on something you didn't know what you were doing. And now you're along the ride with the rest of us. So I'd say is looking at that holistic approach, taking out those skills that you learned before you even joined launch school, because that's what's going to take you further, right? Is how you show up, how you present. And I think a big part of it too is, you know, get your talking points, work on your elevator pitch, like talk about what makes you unique and special and what you're in. But I think always, you know, go put yourself out of that box, go participate in hackathons. Go meet people. Yes, I'm serious. Go meet people. I know it's weird, but just go do it. Go touch them. Go eat pizza with them, and make the rounds and hear what they're talking about too. I've hired a lot of people just by running into them, and that's how it works. And it's not. I mean, I go to a meetup. I meet an amazing dev that is just like, I am changing the world. I was like, who is this person? I want to change the world with them. And like, you know, I think again, it's going to be interesting. So I know we've been really kind of repetitive, but at the end of the day, it's about continuing that beginner's mindset as we together go through this next evolution of digital experiences and beyond digital experiences to how we are embracing the ability to just make things faster and better for everyone, right? So that we can get to what our goals are faster, because that's why we're embracing AI, is so we can see the outcomes quicker, because we've taken away the stuff that doesn't matter. And I was joking about vibe coding, but even seriously, start there. Why? Because it puts you in a state of like, I'm not going to over worry about all the damn syntax, all the environmental variables. I'm going to expect it to do it all for me. And I'm just going to go and write some amazing stuff and see where it takes me. And I think you have to have that kind of spirit when you dive into anything.
Oh, Ben and Dana, that's amazing. Thank you so much for all of your inspirations and recommendations of this soft skills as well, and to develop and to go out and to go out of the comfort zone. And it is,
So I see a lot of questions on
like,
Q&A, and I think Dana and I are trying to kind of embed that into some of our answers. So one of them was about imposter syndrome, maybe also how to win a potential mentor. So, you know, I have to say that as you get older, a lot of things happen, but one of the best things is that you become a little bit more courageous, right? You've been there, done that, you've seen worse. It doesn't get any less scary to speak up, to go, you know, overcome whatever imposter syndrome anxiety you have, but you have a track record where it's like, you know, I already done that. I already spoke in front of 500 people. I was already spoke in front of 50 people. I already led, you know, a mission critical project to the end. So you do become more courageous. So I would say it gets better as you get older. On the potential mentorship, so this is something I did. This is a very sort of simple hack, or you can try to take it away. Is that when you get, say, a general all hands email from your CEO, whoever it is, your skip, you can always reply to it because they just emailed you. Now, don't be generic, right? Be very precise and say, thank you for this message on holidays. In this meeting, I learned this, or I felt that, this is something, even we didn't get a good decision or it didn't go our way, here's my lessons learned. Try to give this person, your skip, your CEO, some kind of personal, genuine message. And then just ask, hey, can I grab a coffee with you? Or as you're walking out of the office on Friday, can I just walk with you and talk with you? I want to talk to you about this. And the worst thing that happens, they totally ignore you or they say no. But you can also get a yes. So I've done that before, and you're not trying to be annoying or trying to suck up to everybody. You're trying to focus your ability to connect with people you don't normally connect to in a company. So just try that. I would also do that on like LinkedIn, right? Maybe you spray and cold call, 50 people, you get really annoying, but maybe one person replies and you get a really good relationship out of that. So I would just say try to go to like GTC, try to go to these conferences where you can network. There's a lot of women in tech, study groups and things like that that's happening at particular conferences. So just try it. Maybe some other things about, let's say, locating companies that generally support women in leadership. I don't know, Dana, do you have anything on that, or do you have any thoughts on the questions that are popping by?
I mean, I just want to second your conference. You don't even need a ticket, y'all. Just go haunt around the conference for free. There's all these out breakouts, happy hours, etc. You don't got to spend $600 on a conference ticket. Just go hang out around them too. If you
GTC is in San Jose next week.
I know it is. And like, I got a million emails. I'm like, man, I just should have got a ticket. I didn't get a ticket, but I may be in San Jose. I'll call you. So I think that, it's interesting when you're trying to break in, you may not have a lot of choice because you just want to get your foot in the door. And you're like, honestly, I'm like, take a good job if it comes in this environment. Give yourself 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, however many months to learn. I mean, don't do something that's totally, antithetical to you or being, but don't be too particular. But if you really have this as something that you feel is one of your core tenets, like go look who's on the leadership team. I'm gonna call it like I see it. If they got no women in senior positions, it's a big signal. It's a big signal that where I would probably pause and ask them why. Like, you don't have to be all aggressive. I mean, be aggressive, but I'd be like, hey, it's very interesting. I went and I researched your company. I looked at your about page and it says all your executives are men. How do you feel and enable women, and where are women in your organization? And here for, just ask them, call it. There is nothing better than directness. I mean, you catch more flies with honey. So, I wouldn't be like, WTF, right? You wouldn't do that in an interview anyway. But I think it's appropriate because it also shows that you're invested and interested in that you want career growth. And you can also frame it on that because if you are a woman and that's who you identify with, like it is important to ask questions about what are the opportunities. I noticed this. Now, if they're off put by that, that's a great signal to be like, don't go. They did not like that you asked them something that is on the public internet about their company and their leadership. That would make me worried. But I think that again, just like Wen was saying, go spray LinkedIn. You know what people do when they want to find out if they're going to hire you? They go to your LinkedIn and they see who you're connected to and they go talk to them. Go do the same. Like if I'm looking for my next thing, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out if I know somebody that works there. And I'm going to be like, what's your experience been like? Because you can read it on the internet, but there's nothing like just asking a person that's living and breathing it. And so I would say do your homework. Do a little bit of your homework. But again, like that comes with some privilege. Like it's hard out there right now. And you may have to, I'll say it, take the first gig that comes your way. That doesn't mean you're handcuffed and you got to be there forever. Remember why you're there. Remember what you're getting out of it. Do your best and remember that you have control of your destiny and that you have already demonstrated the capabilities of learning and curiosity. It may not be great. It may not be perfect, but you can always find opportunities in the things that you do. Hopefully. Obviously there's always outliers to that. So please take that with like end all be all, like I'm talking statistically speaking. There's always something typically to learn with anything, even in the negative, right? They always say the biggest opportunities of learning are through failure. And that can be personal failure, that can be failure out of your control, but that opportunity to sit back and say, this is what I wanted, this is why I'm doing it, and remember what your goals are. Like you just can't lose sight of your goals. And that's ultimately how you need to approach it. And you have to find that intersection of where that culture and that environment enables your goals. And if you go to a company that does not promote the career advancement of women, how does that support your goals if you're a woman? Ask yourself that. So a little bit of work has to be done, but I think people are more friendly than you think. Like, I talked a lot. I mean, I don't know, not everybody probably is as accessible, but you never know without asking, you know, like cold hit somebody up, just do it.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely agree with you, Dana. Like from my own experience, I don't feel like I do enough to go out or meet people in person or try to find I guess programming communities, within the local area or anything like that. It's kind of hard these days when you're with like after COVID and everything, you're kind of not used to talking to people. And yeah, so I really like the inspirational talk there to kind of get us to be more, just to put ourselves out there more. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and at the job, so mm, people working. Oh, you mentioned that women working and going towards their goals at the job, and they connect with different people. But as the work process, has it changed in your company? So has it changed with I in picture? Has it become different than, for example, before AI exists?
Well, when's it an AI company? So I think it's on the baseline of AI. For me, we're embracing it. I'm telling you what we're doing. I'm practicing what we're preaching. I'm like, hello, Netlify engineers. We will embrace these modern tool sets. We will be okay with the robots and machines and agents doing the boring work. We will think about that I build a tool for developers. So I'm always thinking about the DX, but now I'm thinking about the AX. How are our agents going to be interfacing? And so we're really taking a look at what we're doing, what we're building, and ensuring not only do we have a developer experience in mind, but an agent experience. And that's really specific to my line of work, but how we're shifting it is just like what we're telling y'all. Continue to be curious, work agilely, and then find ways. I think one of the big shifts is the interview process. Most interview processes have a technical exercise, and you may be like, oh, I don't want to use AI. They're going to figure out I'm a fraud. Hell no, you should use AI and be open about it. Because to me, I want you to be optimizing your time to be able to focus on the harder problems. And we can't deny that it's not going to be a part of every living tool set that's going to carry on, from CI/CD, from bug fixes, from pull requests, all of the minutia that comes to delivering the code in addition to how you build. So for me personally, we did an AI survey in Netlify about a year ago just to kind of feel the temperature, like, what are people feeling? And like, it was a mixed bag. We had skeptics that are like, taking our jobs, no. And then we had like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And here we are a year later, there's still going to be skeptics. But the reality of it is like, I think you have to continue to see, how does this work for my workflow? What am I spending my time on? That hasn't changed. And so I'm constantly reevaluating, saying like, how do we ensure that people are going to be comfortable when they join, and not make it feel like you're not good enough because you're using coding assistants or you're using coding platforms. Like they still need a lot of work. There's still like a team of researchers tuning, building, RAG and inference, because it's not perfect, right? It still hallucinates. You still have that human behind the machine. And so for me, practicing what I'm preaching right now is just trying to get people comfortable. And I do it too. Like I spend at least 1 hour a day. It's called AI focus time. And I just sit there, and I know an hour doesn't seem like a lot, but at least I'm disciplined and I do it every day. And I just, come and say, okay, what's going on? And then I see how it intersects with what I need to know, and I learn it. And I actually do hands to keyboards. You should see some of the terrible things I've been building. Very fun, very terrible. But that's my take. What about y'all? I mean, y'all are built on the basis of your whole business is about this.
Yeah, we embrace it for sure. So definitely part of our interview process is a take home and then a live coding. If during that time, we would always say, okay, you can use this library or you can use this search, or we can or cannot use AI. And just, yeah, be transparent about it. Okay, I think it's this way, explain what your thinking process is, your pseudocode, and then say, typically I go to this and I look up this class because I don't need to memorize it. That's totally fine. Break down the problem and solve it in front of your interviewer. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to sneak off and do this, and be transparent. For drug discovery, I also saw a lot of the questions about like transparency and explainability. Yeah, large language models hallucinate. We can only be as good as what we can verify, even as a human, right? And for drugs, we're particularly specific about that. So if there's ways to look into what the model is doing and interpret and make that less of a black box, that's also a skill set. So that's also part of the models that you're building, whether you're looking at the attention or whether you're testing it correctly. So verifying what your model is doing, catching those hallucinations, improving its reliability is also a skill set. So I would say don't limit yourself to, I'm only supporting other people that do amazing AI. Maybe you're the fine-tuning engineer. Maybe you're the test engineer, or you're the one coming up with the best data set that you can curate that will, automatically test the model for me. That's a great job. That's also a very highly sought job, but it's not the traditional job. So I'm not sure how you would train for that unless you try it, like Dana said. Just go ahead, build your own model and see what happens. There's Andre Kapathy has like 3 to 4 hour long YouTube drops where he's just explained how to build GPT from scratch. If you can get through that, you can pretty much get through anything. So that's the other question about like, how do I stay informed? It's really tough because everyone is in their own stage in their own career. So I would say build systems to learn and not goals, right? Today, I dropped this in my Notions because I heard this really interesting thing. Oh, I subscribe to Medium. This guy just talks to me like he knows what he's doing at my level, right? Or these podcasts are speaking to me. For me right now, I'm looking at algorithms. I'm looking at startups. I'm looking at leadership as well. So I don't know, Data, you have any podcasts, but I like Acquired. I like uh, How I Built This, Last Week in AI. So I just queue them up in my, drive to work and I just listen to them. So take time, fit it into your day to learn and stay informed, but you do have to customize it for your, current stage in life.
Wow, that's amazing. And we've talked about AI a lot today. And are there any subfields other than AI that within software engineering that new engineers should pay attention to? Are there or not? Or just AI that the software engineers should pay attention to?
I mean, I think Wen called them out. I mean, like model fine tuning. I mean, prompt engineering is a thing, y'all. It is. That's where that vibe coding starts. And some, just our collaboration. There's all these orthogonal things that come and complete the full circle, and there's not one to rule them. Like we talked about it here. It's like, I keep coming back to it. It's systems nerds. Like, look how to use GPUs better, how to optimize servers. It all is through the lens of how to help these models and these agents do what they do. It really is. And so if you look at the full spectrum of what's capable, I think there's a lot of ancillary jobs to be done, and there's not one, but it doesn't have to be directly hands to code. I think project management's even going to become more important. Like, seriously, think about this, right? Like, everybody is optimal productivity. You have all of these streams going. Goodness gracious, what's going to land and what's going next? I think that's going to continue to be a fine art, especially the informed part of the cycle. But there's also testing. There's so many. I'd say go check it out. This is one where go do a little research, go see the jobs that are emerging and keep on top of it. I saw a comment in the QA. It's like, it feels like I'm relearning and I have to double learn everything. Man, I think I've quadrupled. I don't know, shoot, double learned. I'm on version 20, man. If you looked at my Git repo, I'm constantly updating that. That's what being a technologist and a developer is. You're constantly learning. You have to be a human student, especially if you want to continue to accelerate in this field. You have to be a constant student. And so it's going to feel like you're always learning, but you got to it can be overwhelming. So find the things that you need to learn and serialize them. Like, show a little discipline. The world is your oyster. Don't go try to go and do everything at once. It is overwhelming. If you're trying to double learn everything, stop. Go and mind your passion. What do you like about what you've learned? What gets you out of bed? Where does your heart pull you? And sometimes it's your wallet, but that doesn't usually last. You gotta pull your heart and your wallet together, or you're gonna be miserable. Um, and then fine tune it. And I come back to that. I read this book recently, and it's the 10-year anniversary, Essentialism. And I think it's a good book just for thinking about what are your priorities in life, and especially through the lens of leadership. It's very easy to be convoluted in like all the priorities, all the things, all the languages, all the tech. Remember what's essential for you, and focus on those. And that's going to give you some signal on where you can give your attention. But you have to drive that. You have to make a decision. The first stop in it is making the decision. But I hate to break it to you, double, triple, quadruple, 10th, 20th, you're gonna be learning forever. But make sure you're learning something that's valuable and that's worthwhile, or you're gonna be constantly burnt. I don't know. That's what I try to do. I write my little list down, and I take out half of it, and I say, this is what's important. And I do that, and I approach myself and my learning with that as well.
So
Dana,
I've
thank you
heard
for
of
that.
this little anecdote, like two lumberjacks, they go in the forest and they start their day at the same time and stop at the same time. But one of them disappears for an hour in the middle of the day, and he always finishes with more wood at the end of the day. So finally, the other lumberjack just asks him, "What do you do for that 1 hour?" He says, "Well, I go home and sharpen my axe." Right? So figure out whatever it takes for you to sharpen your skills. Yes, it's going to be like, there's so much I need to do, I want to do. Break it down for yourself. You guys already put yourself through law school, your capstone, whatever you've gone through in life. You make a plan, write it down, and then hold yourself accountable, and then adjust that plan. So I'm in my own experiment, seeing how long I can play basketball. I'm 43 and I'm still playing with a league here. And part of it, as you probably know, guys, if you work out, is you got to recover too. You can't just work out and lift weights and whatever. You need to figure out how to decompress and stop learning once in a while and figure out what is it that I do. Go on walks, talk to my best friend. I just do something I really completely orthogonal to programming, playing an instrument, something like that. Figure out how to recover in your learning process too. So and then I think there's a question about women of color. I think women in general are minorities, and you might be a mom. My sister is a mom. I'm an aunt to two adorable nieces. So you come in that feeling, oh, you know, what do I do? Do I tell them is I'm going to limit my hours and stuff? You can also show off your strength, right? Yeah, I might have to be there to drop off my kids, pick them up from daycare. But you know what? I'm going to work my butt off for you in the off hours, and I always get things done, right? You can say that in your interview. And there might be biases in the interview process. You know, some people might think a mom will have less time, but I, for one, am not against hiring, but I haven't had a lot of female candidates come through. So I would love to hire somebody, but I have to understand that they fit the team and everything's based on merit. And if that team is available, they're also as available, or they can make up for that time. So I would say bring up whatever highlights you can about your background, whether you're women of color, a mom, LGBT, whatever it is, and then try to find the culture that you fit into best. Don't try to make yourself change to fit into another culture.
Thank you for that, Wen. I think Dana has something to say about this as well.
I was gonna say, I mean, Wynn nailed it, I mean, I know it's hard for women, and I can only imagine how much more difficult it is for women of color. Like, I don't live that experience. That lived experience is not mine. But, you know, again, like, it's hard to snuff that out. And, and it freaking sucks. It sucks when you've gone through something and you felt biases, no matter what it is and how you've shown up. And I, and I can't speak of living, as that person, but living as a woman, like, they're still out there. And so you got to do your research. Again, ask those tough questions and be transparent I know it feels like, ooh, if I tell them that I'm XYZ, that means they're not going to want to hire me. And again, like, you know, as a new person in this field, it's harder already. So you may just be like, you know what? I don't want to tell them that because I just want a damn job. I just want a job. But you're not gonna have the opportunities. You're not gonna be in a place that isn't gonna embrace you if you can't be transparent. So I think you have to err on the air of transparency and own your greatness. Man, I got 3 kids. One of them likes me. You know, uh, and it is possible. And I think honestly, us just sharing our stories and showing that women are capable of anything is great. Like, show our greatness, get out there, show what we can do. I'm hopeful that we can influence the rest of society, government, and jobs, that we are just as good no matter what. But there's still work to be done. And yeah, you know, sometimes you're going to be in those environments where you don't like it, but gain that knowledge and get out and go and mine for it. You know, I feel very fortunate that I have had a good group of connections that have helped steer me, right? My most powerful uh, ability to find my next thing is leveraging the great people around me and talking to them and then seeing what's out there. And I think that's just still another good entry in. But um, you know, it's not perfect. I think you just have to be selective. And if you can't be selective, take what you learn. But they're still out there, and you know, it's a struggle. But we're gonna overcome, and I'm gonna try and continue to do my part. And I hope all of us can be open and show that you can be more than just one thing and be great. We are, what do they say? We have multitudes. Women have multitudes, and we need to just be proud of all those multitudes. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up, because you are that.
Thank you, Dana.
100%. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dana and Ben. Do we, yes, we have several questions. Nan, are you
Yes.
ready to take one up?
Yeah, let's see. We were able to answer some of the questions, right? I guess for Dana, I think you mentioned previously that like you have to like balance between like taking on AI and then also figuring out when it's best to have like people just I guess software engineers do the work. Is there like a balance that you have when it comes to that? We have a question about balance in automation and human-driven customer success um, to I guess for adaptation and retention.
I mean, it just comes to what the problem at hand
Mhm.
needs. Like, there's not one answer. Like, I think it's really looking at how you approach the situation. It's hard to say what the balance is because it depends. I think
Mhm.
it's about, you know, like Wen was saying, sometimes you need to take a step back, go play some b-ball. When me and you, when I go to San Jose, we're gonna shoot some hoops. Okay, I'm a little bit older, but I
Mhm.
still got it. Still, I don't. I was a post. I just did this. Okay, that was my job in basketball. Um, but I think taking that opportunity to give yourself some space, to give yourself some time, you got to sit down and see how you're going to use. And again, it's that goal setting. How much time, how much capacity, and how can you get to meeting that goal? And if you have AI as a tool or you're developing with AI, ask yourself, what am I spending my time, effort, and energy to unblock myself on the next thing? So you have to give yourself a beat to be very opinionated on what you're going to do and what you're going to use. But it depends on the circumstances. And I think, again, it's understanding, if we look at it generally on what you're trying to accomplish, there is no right or wrong. Start exploring right now. Start using it. Look at the company. Go look if you're going for a particular segment of a job. What do engineers already use over there? What are they already developing? Choose those first. What are your thoughts? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I bet you deal with it a lot more, Dana. So I think part of my own personal growth from an engineer to, let's say, manager to more of a leadership position is to understand the business value of whatever you're doing, right? So if you're just pure engineer, I don't care, you guys figure out how to sell this thing, you're probably not going to be promoted, honestly, right? So the more you can think about the problems that your manager or your skip or CEO are thinking about and solving them before they even ask you, right? That's a great set of skills. In staff meetings now, you know, a lot of times I just go around the room and it's a lot of one-on-one interaction. I wish more of my engineers would speak up and, you know, critique each other, constructively critique each other, so that I don't have to be the one person talking to that, giving feedback one-on-one. It's a team staff meeting, right? You can give your peers advice and feedback and stay active in those kind of roles. So I would say financial literacy at whatever stage you're at, your own personal or whatever your project, right? Every project is going to be financially supported somehow. If you understand that as much as you understand your software tools, that's going to make you stand out amongst your peers. And then I think there was another specific question about like, how do I know about the culture of a company before I even get there or when I'm interviewing? So something very simple would be to just to ask, can I speak to this person in the company that happens to be a female? And privately, right? Just ask them, what is your experience? What are the biases here? How do the decisions get made, right? And you know, you may not like the answer, or it might really tell you that that's a great team to join, right? How do you feel as a woman? So just do the research. There's no shortcut. And then, yeah, go with your gut. I would say we need to trust our own confidence a little bit more. I think that's one of the biggest difference between men and women is this sort of self-confidence and anxiety. So you guys are fantastic, and doing this launch school, I'm sure, as a minority group and also in a field where you are a minority. So I always ask my male colleagues, like, how do you feel if every meeting you walked in and everyone else is female, right? They're like, I never thought about it before. Well, that's how we feel, right? You guys don't have to deal with that. You guys can come in, be broy, let's hang out, grab a beer, whatever. And then they're best friends, right? We come in, we have to, you know, not be too bossy. We have to still speak up, not be too emotional, things like that. But don't worry, those are also skill sets that you can use to your advantage. When you know that you're at some kind of emotional peak, maybe check yourself and say, hey, I feel this way, but I'm going to speak this and see what happens. So figure out what it is that you bring to the table as women, and then be more curious than the men, I would say. Be curious about the business, the soft skills, the communication, how to give feedback to your peers. Because I do see my female colleagues doing that a lot more. We check in with each other. Hey, that meeting was kind of rough. How are you doing? I can guarantee you I haven't had those from my male colleagues in a lot of companies.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, Dana, I think what you mentioned there is really, like having like a group of like just having us come together to support each other. I think I watched like this one video a long time ago on like TED Talks about how it's important to, you know, us like encourage and support your fellow like female coworkers, like give credit where credit is due. Like I think all that stuff is like really helps us to um boost, I guess, boost our morale and the workforce for women in tech. Because yeah, it's definitely, we do, you do feel like a little bit like outliers sometimes when you're in a room full of like men, or you know, and you can't just go in and be like, hey bro, like it's kind of intimidating, right? Because you're like yeah, it's hard to assimilate with the rest of the group when you're the only female. um
But I would challenge you guys to speak up, right? If you
mhm.
have a good question, all hands ask it. If you guys are just having lunch, go talk to somebody you haven't talked to, or go talk to the CEO and find 5 minutes with them, right? So we have to push ourselves to be
Mhm.
uncomfortable.
Exactly. Thank you. Um, let's see what other questions we have in chat. I guess we it's interesting here, resources or reference. I guess we when you mentioned like the acquired and how I built this as a good reference for staying informed about tech and AI, I guess. So I'll put that as answered. Uh,
I know, Dana, do you have any secret hacks to staying informed, or your favorite, you know, source?
Oh man, I mean, you named, I love Acquired. That's such a good podcast. I don't know if you have to go listen to the Starbucks one. That one was fascinating. Um, I listen to those. I mean, honestly, I just pay attention in the places where techs talk, you know, like whether it's in Discord groups, which is a great resource as well. Like go find some Discord groups because that's where you can really go deep and nerd out. But I don't have anything that's super secret or magical. I mean, I just try to find the real needle in the haystack of hype. I mean, I look at the stuff that's really hyped right now and I go and I try that out. But then I go and I understand really what problems are they solving and where they matter and to go one step further. But right, I'm gonna tell you, it's bonkers out there, y'all. It's coming at all angles. So I'm trying to keep up like the rest of us and see what's going to happen next and decipher out some of the noise because there's just a ton of noise. And I think that's the harder part is if you find something you like, stick with it. They're probably onto something, but I don't know. I go and listen to webinars. I see my favorite people talking. I like the A16Z podcast. I'm still in full on startup mode. So I like to hear what the venture capitalists are talking about because they're putting the money behind the tech. And sometimes I'm like, oh, who cares about that? But no, I do, because, you know, they control our financial destiny sometimes. But there's so many good resources. There's so many good, like go to Spotify, find the top and listen to it. Sometimes it is greatness in numbers. But more so than me, hands to keyboard, get out there and try it. You know, I, you know, like I said, was a early co-pilot person and user. Like I was like, this is incredible. And I'm, you know, as a snobby developer and like no code, low code, like, you know, AI platforms, whatever. But now I'm like, no code, low-code AI platforms, sign me up because there's still so much that humans have to do to continue to make that tech better. But to me, you can listen to a podcast, you can get some signal on the different ancillary jobs to be done for this new world of AI development. But there's nothing more powerful than just trying it out. And if you don't know where to start, start. There's so many good platforms. Coursera has classes, Stanford has classes. There's so many free resources. I mean, y'all have your they're like go and just try it. Try it, listen, learn, and then try, but no secret sauce. I wish if you have any secret sauce, so let me know because I got no time on my hand except to put on podcasts when I'm doing everything else. So if anybody has any recommendations, let me know.
Yeah, Dana, it seems like your approach is basically listen to what the hype is, try it out for yourself, and then basically have your own, then you can actually have your own ideas or opinions about it, right? Because the only way to know is just to get in there and do it, right? Which I feel like it's a really good way to approach a lot of things, especially when it comes to programming and learning new stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I guess we have a question about your experience with older new career hires, or what do you see in the job market for older new career applicants? Uh, I'm just curious, when like, you guys have like, do you guys hire people from all different ages? Like, what are your experience with that?
Honestly, at a startup, you want to hire senior. So
Oh,
there isn't too many, I think, of entry-level positions. We made an
mm-hmm,
exception for Michael, and he did extremely well in his interview. And
mm-hmm,
so it really depends on the company, I bet, and the pace that they're going. But there are definitely positions where your experiences come in. So I'm always looking for people that have done startups, that are more the architect or principal level. But if it's just, say, pure age, just make sure that you know, own whatever it was that happened in your past to say, okay, maybe this couple of years I took this off, or this I was doing something else, but here's where I am now. And just I wouldn't say anything about negative about yourself. That's also another part that I've seen in interviews with females. They're very self-deprecating. They start with what they don't know. So just say like, I know you're looking for this, but here's what I can do. Try to keep it positive in that sense. Yeah, and the other part is, don't think of yourself as like, I'm an older candidate or I'm a female programmer. You're just a programmer. You're just a candidate. So if you can do the job, you will get the job. And if they don't, they're biased against you for that, then that's not the company for you.
Heck yeah.
great answer.
And that's illegal. It's illegal. Freaking illegal. Okay. After the age of 40, you're protected, just like you're protected in other ways, at least right now. But it happens, and like it can happen unconsciously. It could be institutionalized. It doesn't have to be forefront of bias. Um, I don't know. I love it, but I'm one of those people that I'm like, shoot, look at you crazy adult that went and did a career change. Like, if you can go and learn something brand new, great. But again, when's right? Like it depends on the trajectory of the company. If you're small, under 20 seed A, you need people that can do many, many things. And so typically you're going on a wealth of experience, or you got one of those geniuses. They do exist, believe me, but they're not the norm. Larger companies have more of a tolerance for it, but I think like a good company culture is going to look at a person holistically. And that's what you should, because it's not just what you can do, it's what you can become. And again, a lot of the soft skills are amazing. Like you're not afraid to pick up the telephone and talk to another person, because that's how you used to have to do it. And that is a power in itself, believe it or not. But you know, it's tough because I think that, you know, if a company isn't mature enough to see the greatness in people at all ages, then again, you're going to have to ask yourself, is this a place where I want to be? Excuse me. But a great company that has the ability to take a chance on somebody, they're not going to care. They're not going to care. They're just going to see your output and see what you bring to the table. And also, Zoom has this little thing where you can go and put a filter on your face and make you look younger. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Don't do that. I mean, do that, you know, if you're waking up looking bad. But I think you just got to own it. And I think it's easier said than done, but you do. You can't change who you are. You are who you are. And the place needs to accept you for that. And it could be a struggle to get there. And if you've got on board and realize that, go to HR, tell somebody, say, like, don't be afraid, like straight up. Find the right path to be like, that's interesting. But just like I mentioned, like look at the company demographics, talk to people there, find somebody, like Wen said, why don't you just ask somebody, hey, what's your average age of employees? Do you have anybody over the age of 50? Do you have anybody over the age of 35? Do you have anybody that's gone second career? You know, how do you enable and support working parents? What are your remote policies? Like, what is your flexibility? Do you have an HSA? You know, it's all kind of the mechanics of a gig. I think you just got to kind of ask.
Yeah, Dana, I feel like I think the whole discussion is almost about like um kind of taking it in your hands, like taking power, taking back your power and being like, okay, this is what I want, and if and this is what I can do, and if you guys don't want me, then there's other companies that will be willing to take me on, right? So I think it's almost like it's almost like a relationship, you know, you go into a relationship, you're like, this is what I want, this is what I can do. And if they don't like it, you go to the next person. And it's the same with companies, making sure you find a good match that look at your values and have similar values, I guess. So thank you for that. It just took me to like that whole like mentality of like really taking things in your own hands and being like I guess more confident about yourself, right? Thank you. Um, Yulia, so I guess we have like 8 minutes left. Are there any more questions that you guys can see in the Q and answer that you would like to answer? I feel like we answer majority of them.
I kind of want to hear Dana's answer to the how did you decide your area of expertise? I feel like your history from like the army, I think,
Yeah.
to now, Netlify. What was it that made your pivots, I guess, this journey?
Oh man, I am not an expert. Okay. When you are, like I said, I'm not worthy. Freaking PhD student. Like you were like, I'm going to go to school forever because I love this. Because you've been, I don't even want to know how many years you've been in school. Well, I kind of do because it's been a long time. I mean, for me, you know, I think my superpower is honestly being curious, and I love people. And finding problems within a business and not putting boundaries upon myself. I'm definitely not an expert in anything. That's what my superpower is I know a lot about a lot of things, and I've not been afraid to try stuff out. And you know, what I really gravitated towards was honestly is boring as it is is technical leadership. I love helping people remove blockers, but I love doing that in a foundational and functional way. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to be able to like, own it too. But I have it, I would say, it's okay not to have that one thing. Like write it until you can. It may unlock what you really are into. I started out my career in this field in the military, information systems operator, analysis developer. I was like, sweet, air conditioning. You just don't have to go outside. I didn't really want to do the military, but I really wanted to have an opportunity to do something. And it was such an emergent field. And I'm a creature of comfort. Okay. And so I was curious enough to say, well, this is an interesting thing. And then I learned more about it. And I said, well, shoot, that's an interesting thing. And I just kept grinding. And really, it's been for me about just solving problems, like solving problems. But I'll nerd out on some stuff. I still am a terrible front end developer, even though I work for a company that enables front end. I'm like, don't ask me. I'm like buttons everywhere. Put a button, which is a terrible answer. I'm much better have an AI coding program. But for me, it's solving what really inspires you and what gets you out of bed. And what does it for me is people. And so like, you're like, Dana, what does that have to do with tech? I don't know. You guys are building the tech and I have enough knowledge about it. So I haven't been an expert in anything except, bad jokes and board meetings. I am an expert in that. And then honestly, just trying to be real with people and promote learning. I think I would have been an educator in a different life. And that's where my true passion is. And so I think there's so many things that we can do in this field that aren't directly related, but you got to go pay it forward first. You got to put in the hard work. So you can be really deep or you can be really broad, or sometimes you can be both. And so find the things you want to go deep in, be good at that. And then that allows you to expand into more broader areas because you have to apply that as you move into, more leadership driven positions. It's not about just what your core competency is. It's about how you apply the core competency to make the business or the mission successful. And that's not the stuff they teach you in school. Unless maybe, I don't know, maybe Harvard Business School, but I didn't go there.
Yeah, I've been really lucky in my career to study. I went back to school in my late 20s to go back to grad school to apply computer science to medical robotics. And then I got to actually do this once I graduated from this. So I've been really lucky. But honestly, the growth in my career came from not just being a technical person, but understanding like what are the clinical regulatory aspects of this medical device, or how do they test it, and how is it user friendly? How are surgeons actually going to use this? So it's all the other skills that you see other people kind of saying, that's not my job. I don't care about that. I just care if that code compiles and it's running on the robot. Well, if it doesn't make financial sense, it's not going to be a product. Right. So if you're willing to be the glue of all these different gaps, then you are kind of making your own secret sauce, if you will. And I don't know where that will take you. So maybe one just general word of advice is try to reinvent yourself every 10 years, whatever it is, like your natural cadence is, and keep learning, right? Especially in this day and age when everything's moving so fast. So other things I think somebody asked about, what are the resources? Yeah, like Dana said, Coursera, Udacity, Stanford drops free their CS, lessons are on YouTube. So just go get curious, put them on a Notion, put it on your Canva, and then start doing your own like deep dive into things that you really care about. Because we're not gonna get everything that we want, but what we get, hopefully that's what you really love and are passionate about. So I think that's how I end up where I am. And then, Dana is on her own journey. I'm sure you guys are your own journeys as well. So good luck to you on all of that.
Oh, thank you so much, Dana and Wen. I guess we're up on the hour, so I guess if any last advice, I know you guys already mentioned. So if not, we'd like to say thank you so much for coming here and giving us so much like inspiration and encouragement, I feel like. So we really appreciate that. Hila, is there anything you'd like to say to Dana and Wen before we go?
Yes, about any advice. Do you have any advice to women looking to break into the tech industry today, and that you would have given to yourself, to your past self?
And I'll just say real quickly, Stay curious, stay humble, and don't put any boundaries on yourself, because honestly, anything's possible. It may take a lot of work, but let me tell you, you are the architect of your existence by the decisions you make. And so don't forget what you're doing, because you've already started that journey right now. So just keep going. You've already done great things. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, very similar. So I would say just try to be the best version of yourself, whatever that is, and don't limit it. But also, especially for us as women in relationships, maybe be very, cognizant of who the 5 people you interact with the most. Those are your echo chambers. That's your support system. That's how you recover too. So whoever it is around you, hopefully you choose people that are like re-energizing you. So, choose your support system wisely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your time, and thank you for all your recommendations, and for sharing your experience that we value so much. Thank you for today's
Happy to be
talk.
here.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you. And thank you. It's nice to meet you, Wen. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you on the
We'll
internet.
have to hoop it up and shoot,
Well, we
one-on-one
going.
sometime, right?
I'm gonna find you. All right, y'all have a good
All
one.
right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, everyone.